Hello friends, welcome to Learning. My name is Dr. Ben. Today we are going to learn some awesome stuff. Learning is for everyone. Let's make it fun and let's enjoy. Hello friends, thank you for tuning in today. Today we will dive into Basic Excel Lesson 2, Managing Worksheets and Workbooks. If you have not looked at Lesson 1, Introduction into Excel, I would invite you to check out the lesson before tackling Lesson 2. If you are enjoying the content material, please click the subscribe button and the like button below. Let's dive right into Lesson 2, beginning with our lesson scenario. Delicious Donut Shop. You have just been hired to work on the Delicious Donut Shop's Excel Inventory Workbook. The Inventory Workbook is a mess. There are inconsistencies you must correct, such as columns and rows that are not the same size, data that needs to be moved while keeping the format intact, and data that needs to be repositioned or adjusted. How will you handle or tackle this assignment? The modules in this lesson will assist you in taking on this huge task. In Lesson 2, Module 1, Structuring a Worksheet, we will discuss the many ways you can adjust worksheets, columns, rows, and cells. The topics in this module include inserting, deleting, and resizing columns and rows. It also includes inserting, deleting, copying, moving, and renaming worksheets. The module will also cover cutting, moving, copying, and pasting data, and also customizing the Quick Access toolbar and your application display. Let's take a look at the module objectives for Module 1. At the end of this module, you will be able to set up columns, rows, and cells, adjust columns and rows in a worksheet, insert, delete, rename, move, or copy worksheets. I want you to imagine setting up columns, rows, and cells in an Excel worksheet. Take a moment and think to yourself, how would you do that? As you begin to develop your worksheet, there will be times where you may need to insert or delete columns, rows, and cells. You might also need to adjust the column width or row height. These types of adjustments will help with the readability of your data. As usual, there are many ways to adjust a workbook, not just a few. I'm going to demonstrate to you a few strategies that may assist you in adjusting your worksheet. We'll begin by inserting a row into a worksheet. If you have not done so already, open up a new worksheet. My worksheet is now open and we're ready to go. Before we begin inserting a row, I'm going to add some data, dummy data, into the Excel spreadsheet. Let's add some data. From cell A1, right here, I'd like for you to take that handle in the lower right-hand corner right here. It's now a plus sign showing on the corner area there. Left click and drag it all the way over to M1 and release. Select the Merge and Center from the Home tab alignment group. Type in the words Items Purchased. What we're doing is creating a title for our worksheet right here on the sheet itself. Highlight what you typed and change the font color to blue. I am selecting the blue accent 1, darker 25%. Let's bold that title. Now, let's go ahead and change the font size to 16. Click out of that cell and into an empty cell. There we have our title. Let's add the dummy data. Place your cursor into cell B2. From there, I want you to type in the word January. We're going to add months to this animal. Grab a hold of that handle on the bottom right, our plus sign appears, and drag it all the way over to M2. Notice as you're dragging it, the months do appear at the bottom. Release. Go to cell A2 and type in the word customer ID. Customer space ID. Okay. Place your pointer, we're going to click out. Now place our pointer between header A and B and double click. Pointer is placed between A and B, it turns into a cross. Double click, and now you see it opens up my header information. Place your customer numbers. Now before you do that, let's go ahead and place customer numbers down the column A right here. We're going to put in column customer numbers. Type in the word customer 1. This is our first customer, 1. Let's go back to that lower right hand corner. Arrow appears and drag it all the way down until we get to cell A26. Release. We have 24 customers here. Go over to our autofill options, hit the down arrow, and ensure we have the field series selected. That's why we received that 1 through 24. Okay. I want you to go up now and see that our data here is ready to go somewhat, but we still have some areas that are kind of blocked in, like September. We can't really see what that is, or November. The edge is hanging over there. I'm going to click up here on this empty space to the left of the column A. Click that. Now, click into the cell area header between A and B and drag it over just a little bit. Notice now that our cells for our months are now open and we can see the data. Click into an empty cell and we're ready to go. Let's create that data we talked about earlier to fill the data. Select cell B3 to M26. B3. Drag over to M26. Come on. Okay, I'm going to redo this because it's not giving me what I want. There we go. Notice what I did here. I'm going to go back and redo that. I click in cell B3 in the center and I just dragged it all the way down. That way I'm opening up the cells here, or the actual box itself. My B3 is already highlighted. I'm going to type in the function equal rand between. Equal rand between. Notice that the rand between is down here. It opens up for us in our selection. It returns random numbers between the numbers we're going to specify. Let's double click that. In the cursor where you see it blinking, our minimum number, we're going to type in 10. Our maximum number is going to be 100. And then close parentheses. This is our formula. We have rand between equal sign specified is a formula. Rand between the numbers minimum and maximum, 10 and 100. From this point, we're going to press our control key and enter on our keyboard. Notice now our data is filled in our cells. To lock the numbers in so they are no longer functions, we're going to do something different here. Notice here that in B3, look at your formula bar up here. We have functions in there. We don't want that. We want actual values. Let's go ahead and place our pointer down at the bottom. Point to the border right here and right mouse click. Hold it, drag it all the way down to a little bit. Now, bring it back up to where you want it to go, right there, and release. A context menu appears. Click on copy here as values only and watch what happens in our formula bar. There we go. The formula is gone. We have numbers or values there only. Look at that. I can click anywhere and the formula doesn't show up. The values show up, and that's what you want. Let's go ahead and save this to our desktop or to the file you've chosen. I want to save this to my desktop. And I'm going to call this dummy data. I already have a dummy data file on my desktop. I'm going to overwrite that. I'm going to overwrite that, clicking enter. It says dummy data already exists. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. And there we go. Here's our dummy data. Now let's take a look at that inserting of a row. To insert a row, I want to insert, I want to insert a row. So right click on the desired row header and choose insert from the context menu. I want to insert a row right here on number 8. So this is my column header here. Right clicking and you're going to hit insert down here from our context menu. The cells open up, the row is created. It places it on the top of your data. Let's do this again in another way. I'm going to select row 11. Select my row 11. I'm now going to hit Control plus sign on my keyboard. Hitting the Control key and the plus sign on my keyboard. And look at that. The row opens for me, or inserts a row. Another way I can do this, way number 3. Select my row header again, let's say 15. I selected my row header. I'm going to go to Home tab and to my cells, logical group cells here. From here, I'm going to click Insert, Insert Sheet Rows, and there we go. So there's 3 ways you can do this. Right click to the desired row header and choose from the context menu. Hit that cell or that header group and hit Control plus, or I can go to that column header and click on the insert from my Home tab in my cells logical group and hit Insert Sheets. One thing to note here, the number of rows you select will determine the number of rows that's going to be inserted. Same logic applies to the deletion of rows. For example, I want 3 rows. So I'm going to go here, select 12 and 14, my headers, Control plus, there are my 3 rows. Once again, the number of rows you select will determine the number of rows that will be inserted. We talked about inserting of rows. How about deleting the rows? The same thing applies, or same logic applies actually. I'm going to click on that row 8 here. I want to delete that. How will we do that? We right click on there, context menu appears, we click the delete. There we go, it's deleted. I want to delete a second way now. I'm going to select 3 of these, all 4 actually, all 4. The second way I can delete this, I've chosen my column headers, selecting row headers from the Home tab, selecting delete. Delete sheet rows. There we go. The third way I can do this, select my row header, Control minus or Control hyphen as they call it, delete on your keyboard. So on your keyboard you have a minus sign, which is near your plus sign. If you have the numbers on your keypad like I have, you have it over there. And click that and it deletes your rows. We've learned how to insert and delete rows. How about columns? Let's insert a column. Right click on J. The search menu appears, your context menu appears, and I can insert a row. Insert a column. The column appears on the left-hand side of your data, so remember that. Another way I can do this, I'm going to go to M, clicking M to insert a column, go up to my Home tab, to my Cells logical group, Insert. Insert what? Insert sheet column because it is selected. Again, it opens up to the left. The third way I can do this, clicking my columns, Control, you got it, Control plus. It opens it up. To delete the columns, the same applies as what we did earlier with our rows. I'm going back to J1 or J column, right click, delete. L, I can do Control minus. M, I can go to delete and delete sheet columns. Excellent. To delete multiple rows, the same thing happens. We can do as we did with the columns. Select the first column or row to delete, hold our keys down and delete. Let's try this. To delete our multiple columns or rows, we can do one of two things. Select the first column or the row you'd like to delete. Let's see here. Let me add a column here real quick. I want to delete the multiple columns at the same time. Okay, I have column N and column O. I want to delete those at the same time. Click in my column I to delete it, holding down my Control key. Now select column N. Look at that. The gray appears on both of those columns. I'm going to do what now? I'm going to delete this animal. There we go. Then delete it. That's how you delete the multiple columns or multiple rows. You talked about deleting, inserting rows and columns. How about adjusting the row height or column width? Let's discuss adjusting a row height or column width. Adjusting these two items improves readability and ensure that the data is visible and properly displayed. You always want that. If you see a string of number signs or hashtags, let's see, like this. See the hashtag there? It's 1, 2, close it again. There we go. The hashtags are forming there in our column along our rows. That means that the data is too big or too long in that cell. The data is actually truncated or cut off. To adjust the height in the row or the height in the column, we're going to select that column to be adjusted and then move as we need fit. Move your pointer right here, select it, make sure it's across, and move it to our desired preference right there. If I don't want to do that manually, I can go back. Let's go back to the hashtag. Hit here your column, select your column. My arrow or cross appears, double click, and it opens up. When you double click that, it's called auto fit. It's going to fit to the character width of your column right here. If I did not have November there, it will fit to 100, whatever you have there. The same logic applies to your columns as well. Let's take another look at that adjustment for row height and column width. If I go back here in my column, placing my cursor on L, right click, look what happens. The column width appears in my context menu. I'm clicking column width, and I can change it from this dialog box here, the column width, change that to 15. My column has increased in size. I can go back, selecting that column header, column width, and I can decrease it to 8.78, what I had before. Hit enter on your keyboard or select the OK button. This same logic can apply to our rows, the row width, or row height, I'm sorry. Right click, row height. I'm going to change that to 20, and there we go. Selecting it again, right click, row height. I want it to be 15. Okay, I want to have a bunch of these. Let's say I want to select a few of these together, I can right click anywhere here in that space, row height. I'm going to change the row height to 20. Let's say 25, make it big, 25. There we go. So I can do this all together as multiples or singles. Control Z gets me back to where I was before. And there we have it, row height and column width adjustments. Alrighty, let's take a look at inserting a cell. To insert a cell, we can use one of two approaches. We can right-click on the cell where you want to insert the cell and access its context menu. I'm going to use October data here in the column and customer number 427. I want to insert a cell. Right-click, insert from our context menu. I can either shift the cells to the right or shift cells down based on what we see here in our insert dialog box. Word of warning here for us. Be very, very careful when inserting cells that you don't muddle up your data. It says here I can click cells to the right or shift cells down. If I do that, I'm going to screw up my data. So it's very wise to see what your data looks like before you start inserting and deleting cells. Look what happens when I insert or click OK. I've now shifted my data to the right side of my worksheet. That 27 is now in November for customer 4. That data is supposed to be 38, as well as 66 in December. So right now, this data is incorrect. It's muddled. I wanted to get rid of the 27, but not shift it over. Let's get that back over in October by hitting our undo. So if I want to get rid of the 27 without going through all that hoopla, I can just delete it right here by using my delete key on my keyboard. It's gone. But if I know my data, I understand what's happening, I can then use that context menu of insert. Another way of inserting data is to go here to your home tab and over to insert and insert cells. Once again, that insert dialog box does appear. I can shift cells to the right or shift cells down. Let's see what happens by clicking the radio button, shift cells down. It shifts the cells down. Once again, my data is muddled up. Customer number 5 has that 27 in October. It should not be there. So Control Z, getting it back in 27. So to insert a cell, be very careful when you're inserting cells using the context menu or using the insert from the home tab. To delete a cell, I can do the same thing here. Right click on that data cell, hit delete. Instead of insert, it says delete now. So same applies. Shift cells to the left or shift cells up. If I shift cells to the left, whoa, all my cells are gone. It's deleted, but my cells are now for December are gone. And 66 is now in November. And 38 is in October. That is incorrect data. Control Z, I'm back again with 27 in October. So be very, very careful when inserting or deleting cells that you don't mess up your data. To actually delete this data, very simple, hit the delete key on your keyboard. It's gone. Your cells have not shifted either upwards or downwards or to the left or the right. They are there where you want them. But be very cognizant of what your data looks like before you insert and deleting a cell using the context menu and the home cells logical group area. We will now briefly discuss the topic of setting up our worksheets. Every new workbook has one worksheet by default named Sheet 1, as you see here. As you develop your workbook, you might add additional worksheets. It's a very good idea to change that defaulted name of your worksheet to a more meaningful name, and we'll get to that later on. There's a likelihood that you may need to move worksheets around or copy them. You want to keep your worksheets organized, so rename appropriately. If your workbook contains unnecessary worksheets, such as blank worksheets or duplicated worksheets, it's a good idea to just delete those guys. Let's talk about inserting an extra worksheet. I'm going to insert a worksheet here by using my plus button, which we talked about in lesson 1, next to the worksheet tab right here, the plus. This plus button gives us a new sheet, and it moves it to the right side of your current worksheet. Approach number 2, I can right click on this worksheet here. Up comes my context menu, and I can hit here, insert. Up comes an insert dialog box. I'm clicking worksheet, which is already highlighted. Okay. And guess what? It moves it to the left of the current worksheet I was on. The third approach is the ribbon tab. I'm clicking on my sheet 1 again. I'm here. I want to add another worksheet. Go to my ribbon tab, select the insert from the cells dialog or cells logical group, insert sheet right here. But look what happened here on my display. Insert worksheet, Shift plus F11. That's our shortcut keys. I can use that instead. Shift plus F11. It also gives us a new worksheet. I'm hitting Shift F11 and I'm getting new worksheets. That works too. To delete a worksheet, we can do one of the following. Right click on the top of the worksheet. Let's see. Let's take sheet 6. Right click on top of the worksheet and click delete. Another way I can delete this worksheet is from the home tab. Let's click sheet 7. Home tab, delete. Right here, delete sheet. Sheet 7 is now gone. I can also hit more worksheets at one time to delete them. I'm going to hit on my sheet 11 by using my shift key or my control key. Shift, hit here, 10, right click, delete. Both those worksheets are gone. So word of warning, take extra care when deleting worksheets. You cannot undo this worksheet action. If you accidentally delete a worksheet, while you can still close the workbook without saving it, you could lose lots of work in the process. So it's best to be careful when working with your worksheets as far as deleting your worksheets. You cannot undo this action. Let's talk about renaming a worksheet. When you rename a worksheet, you may need to consider a naming convention. I'm going to go back to sheet 1 here, which is all my data. I'm going to name this worksheet dummy data. By double clicking on the worksheet, notice it highlights now. And I'm using the camel case feature as we talked about earlier. Dummy data, 2 words. The first letter of each word is capitalized. Or I can use something like this naming convention, dummy data underscore 2025. Or I can use cells underscore data underscore 2025. It depends on what you want and what your team or your boss wants you to use for easier reading of the worksheets and easy labeling. You want something that will stand out, something short and concise. Let's look at another way of renaming our worksheet. Right-click on the worksheet name to access that context menu again. Let me go back. There we go. Look what happens. I can hit rename. And the tab highlights for us, ready for editing. I'm clicking out. And another way I can do this, clicking on that tab again, I can go to my ribbon, the home tab, and my ribbon cells, logical group, hit format, and arrow down to sheet name. I'm going to change that sheet name to dummy data and leave it at that. Well, I'm going to put on 2025. Oops. There we go. Underscore 2025. There we go. And then click out of the tab. It's now saved. A word of advice to you. When you are constructing your tab names, avoid the following characters, as these characters are reserved for coding within Excel by programmers. The characters I'm talking about are the asterisk. I'll type it right here. The asterisk, the backslash, forward slash, backslash, question mark, colon, and open brackets and close brackets. These particular characters are reserved for coding within Excel, so you cannot use these in your tabs as a tab name. Also, a reserved word that you want to stay away from is the word history. This word too is also reserved for programmers in Excel. Let's take a look at this real quick and see what happens if you select the word history for your naming of your tab. I'm putting in the word history, clicking out, and there's my error. History is a reserved name, so we can't use that. Click OK and name this something else, tab, and then click out. So stay away from the word history and the characters I mentioned earlier. Let's go ahead and talk about moving a worksheet. To move a worksheet within the same workbook, that is. So to move a worksheet within the same workbook, right-click on that tab to access the context menu. Right here. Let's take a sheet 9, for example. Right-click, move or copy. I want to move this worksheet within the workbook. So I'm going to move it to the end. Click move to the end and click OK. There we have it. The worksheet's now moved to the end of your other worksheets. Another approach we can take to move a worksheet within the same workbook is to select Format from the Home tab and then select Move or Copy Sheet. So from that Home tab, I'm going to my Cells logical groups within the Home tab, clicking on Format, arrow down to Move or Copy right here. The sheet is already selected. I'm going to move or copy before Sheet tab or dummy data. I'm going to leave it as tab and click OK. That sheet 9 is now moved before Sheet tab. A third approach to move a worksheet within the same workbook is to actually select the Worksheet tab to move. Let's look at Worksheet tab number 9. I'm going to select that tab with my left mouse. There we go. And look what happens. When I hit my left mouse, I receive a caret at the upper left-hand corner of the tab. In the center of the tab, I have a worksheet or sheet icon. I'm taking this tab, I'm dragging it over to my new location or position. I'm going to position this right between the tab and the dummy data tab and release. There we go. So we have 3 approaches to move a worksheet within the same workbook. We can right-click and access our context menu, move and copy. We can select Format from the Home tab and hit the Cells logical group and hit Format, move or copy. Or move or copy by selecting the Worksheet tab and left mouse move and drag. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to copying a worksheet. To copy a worksheet within the same workbook, watch as I demonstrate, or you can follow along. Before you copy your worksheet, ensure that the worksheet tab you want to copy is selected. Once that's done, select Format from the Home tab right here in your logical cells grouping here. Hit Format, then check the arrow, move down to Move or Copy Sheet. You'll notice the Move or Copy dialog box appears. I'm going to select Move to the End on my Before Sheet area here. Move to the end. That means that the sheet I'm going to copy is going to be moved to the end of the worksheets. And select Create a Copy. Click OK. Notice my worksheet has been copied. It's labeled number 2. It is behind dummy data 25. I'm going to show you another method to copy by right-clicking on top of a worksheet that I want to copy. Right-clicking here on the dummy data. I want to select Move or Copy. In the Before Sheet area, I want this to appear before dummy data 2025. Select Create a Copy and OK. There you have it. It is now placed before, the copy sheet is placed before the dummy data 2025, and it is labeled as number 2. The third method to copy your worksheet is to actually select that worksheet you want to copy. I'm going to select the dummy data once again, tapping onto that, holding down my left mouse and Control key. Watch what happens. Notice the caret at the upper right or left hand corner of the Sheet tab. I have the sheet icon in the center there with the plus sign in the center of that sheet icon. Moving it over to any direction I want, here, or before. I'm going to put it over here after the tab, Worksheet, and release. Notice my worksheet is now copied. Number 3 has been copied before or after the Sheet tab and before Sheet 9. So that wraps up creating or actually copying a worksheet within the same workbook. Let's talk about moving a worksheet to a different workbook. Not copying, but moving a sheet to a different workbook. If you need to move a worksheet to another workbook, you don't need to use copy and paste. Excel has a command that will move the worksheet for you. Now, in order for you to do this type of a task, you must have both worksheets open. To move a worksheet to a different workbook, for the worksheet you want to move, right-click the Worksheet tab and access that context menu. I'm going to right-click on the dummy data here and move it to a new workbook. Right-clicking to get my context menu. There we go. I want to now select Move or Copy as we've done before. Move or Copy. Now the Move or Copy dialog box appears. I'm going to go to the Toolbook area here and notice it's landed on the dummy data. I'm going to select my new workbook that's already open. Remember, in order for you to move a workbook or worksheet to a new workbook, you must have that workbook or both workbooks open. The Cool workbook, I'm going to move it there. The Cool workbook has in the Before Sheet area a Sheet 1. And I'm going to move it after Sheet 1 by selecting Move to End. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and select OK. Notice now that the Cool workbook appears and my dummy data has been moved from the old workbook and into the new one. Let's talk about copying a worksheet to a different workbook. There may be times where you want to give your worksheet to someone else, but not the whole workbook. You can copy a worksheet to a different workbook and give them that workbook. What we're going to do now is go through and right-click on the name of that worksheet tab that we want to copy. Let's go back to that worksheet dummy data. I'm going to copy it back to the dummy data workbook by right-clicking once again on that worksheet tab, move or copy from the to book area. Select the workbook you want, dummy data. Then I'm going to move it to the end of these workbooks that are already there. Move to the end right there. Then select create a copy checkbox and OK. My dummy data workbook has appeared, and guess what? The dummy data is copied into this workbook. Awesome. Notice one thing that I did not go over. When you're looking at copying, moving, or pasting to different workbooks, what you can also do, I'm going to go here to move or copy. What you can also do in the to book section, if you want to create a brand new worksheet or workbook, you can do that right here, clicking a new book. And that data tab you're copying or moving goes to that new workbook you just created. You're going to create actually. Let's try that. I'm going to, let's say, copy a worksheet to a new workbook, brand new workbook. I haven't created it yet, brand new. Select new workbook. Hit create a copy. Let's see what happens. Okay, there we go. A brand new workbook, book 1. And I have in there a brand new or the copied work tab I had in my old workbook. So if you want to give your customer or your work colleague a worksheet, instead of copying and pasting, create a brand new workbook for them in one easy step right there. Wow, we've covered a great deal this section or this module. What did we learn so far? We learned how to insert a row into a worksheet, deleting a row, inserting a column, deleting a column, deleting multiple columns or rows, adjusting a row height or column width, inserting a column, deleting a cell, inserting a worksheet, deleting a worksheet, renaming a worksheet, moving a worksheet within the same workbook, copying a worksheet within the same workbook, moving a worksheet to a different workbook, copying a worksheet to a different workbook. Let's check our understanding of the information we have discussed thus far. It is time for a knowledge check. Attempt to answer the questions presented. You may pause the video after each question to review. Return to the lesson when you are ready. The answers to each question will be displayed a few seconds after the reading of the question and the possible answers. Let's begin. Remember, read the questions and answer. True or false? In Excel, we can insert a row into a worksheet by selecting the desired row header and then select the Control plus sign key on our keyboard. A, true. B, false. The answer is A, true. In Excel, the steps to delete a column are as follows. Select the right one. Right-click on top of the column header and access its context menu. Select Insert. Right-click on top of the column header and access its context menu. Select Delete. Right-click on top of the column header and access its context menu. Select Clear Content. Right-click on top of the column header and access its context menu. Select Hide. Which steps are correct? The answer is B. Right-click on top of the column header and access its context menu. Select Delete. In Excel, one approach to adjust a row height or column width is to A. Select the rows or columns to be adjusted. Then move your mouse between any of the selected rows or columns. When your mouse changes shape, double-click. The rows or columns will be the exact size they need to be to fit the data. B. Select the rows or columns to be adjusted. Then move your mouse on the cell of any of the selected rows or columns. When your mouse changes shape, double-click. The rows or columns will be the exact size they need to be to fit the data. C. Select the rows or columns to be adjusted. Then move your mouse between any of the selected rows or columns. Your mouse should not change its shape. Double-click. The rows or columns will be the exact size they need to be to fit the data. D. Select the rows or columns to be adjusted. Then move your mouse between any of the selected rows or columns. When your mouse changes shape, double-click. The rows or columns will be different sizes. The answer is A. Select the rows or columns to be adjusted. Then move your mouse between any of the selected rows or columns. When your mouse changes shape, double-click. The rows or columns will be the exact size they need to be to fit the data. In Excel, to move a worksheet within the same workbook, what steps should you take? Choose one of the following. A. Select Format from the Home tab and then select Move or Copy Sheet. B. Select Format from the Home tab and then select Rename Sheet. C. Select Format from the Home tab and then select Protect Sheet. D. Select Insert from the Home tab and then select Insert Sheet. The answer is A. Select Format from the Home tab and then select Move or Copy Sheet. Excel trivia. Did you know when you stretch a row to make it wider, the maximum height of the row is 409.5 points. The default setting is 15 points. It's time to practice what you have learned. After practicing, take a break and return to the channel for Lesson 2, Module 2. Thank you and have a great day.